those lights, you're on your phone. I should have known. Saw you cold, wonder why you try. I'm still alone. You're on your own. Disconnected, don't know why we fell apart. The feeling sets in, but only after dark. But only after dark. Only after dark. Hollow shell, look me in the eyes, see I'm numb, I've come undone. Let me go, I'm sorry that I can't be what you want. My heart is gone. Disconnected, don't know why we fell apart.
Round 4 of the TCL GT World Challenge Asia Esports Championship presented by Tarmac Works is set to get underway. There is Luis Moreno. He blasts back onto the racetrack.
Hello everyone and a very good evening to you and welcome back to the Legion of Races. This is the Asia Championship presented to you by Tarmac Works. My name is Hong and hosting this evening's presentation with me once again is professional sim driver Fadris Issa. Hello Fadris.
Hi guys, I'm Patrice and yeah, I'm a esports driver for Legion of Races and I've been doing esports for around 2 years now.
So last week we witnessed some amazing driving from all the drivers, the competitors who were fighting for individual honor, team pride and national glory. Round 2 happened at Suzuka Circuit, round 3 happening at Spa-Francorchamps. Now if you've not had the chance to catch those races yet, do consider checking them out on our Legion of Races YouTube channel after tonight's race. Speaking of tonight's race, Fadris,
Right.
where are the drivers tonight going to be racing at?
Right, so yeah, the drivers will be racing in Zandvoort Circuit for round 4 and then on round 5, we'll be going on to Circuit Barcelona in Spain. So yeah, can't wait for the race to be started already.
Now, just like the previous 3 rounds, all participants will be competing in the Nissan GTR GT3, making this a one-make race. Now, settings and tuning are permitted, such as tire pressures, camber and toe settings, damper settings, aerodynamics, all that stuff, which will make a very big difference to how the drivers are able to perform on circuit. The drivers will also be split between Pro and M categories based on their experiences on Assetto Corsa Competizione.
Yeah, of course. And another thing to add as well to this race is that tire degradation will be activated. So drivers will have to control or will have to sort of maintain their tire level or drive accordingly to their tire status. So like they will have to manage the understeer and oversteer of the Nissan GTR. So another thing as well is that damage will be activated. So even the slightest damage will affect their pace against the rest of the field. So
I think we witnessed some of that during last weekend's
Yes.
2 races where drivers come into contact with one another, the bumpers get damaged, the GT wing gets damaged, and it really affects the way the car handles on track. Now, there will be a 20-minute practice session for round 4. That is already happening right now, I believe, followed by an 8-minute qualifying session. And for round 4, a 20-minute sprint race. And for round 5, the finale of the season, it will be a 25-minute race. Now, let's take a quick look at the current standings of where the drivers are. After round 1, 2, 3, and 4, here in the Pro category, we have Russell Reyes from the Philippines with a total of 52.5 points. Friki Sega with a total of 43 points representing Indonesia. Dafa Ardiansa representing Indonesia as well with 35 points. Presley Martono representing Indonesia with 31 points. Dafa Nabil, also from Team Indonesia, with 23.5 points.
And in P6, we have Mohammad Irfan with 22 points. In P7, we have Sai Prithvi, so apologies for that, with 18 points. And then we have in 8th place, Singhan from Singapore with 5 points. 9th place, we have Ilham Shakil from Indonesia with 4 points. And then we have in 10th place, Riana Adisa Putra with 3 points.
That's right. Now let's move over to the M category, and these are the current standings after 3 rounds of racing. In first position, leading everyone in this category, is Alan Drake Cruz from the Philippines with 62.5 points. In second place, Aldo Balagulan with 45 points. Mike Denaldi with 37.5 points. In fourth place, we have Taufik from Malaysia with 26 points. In fifth position, representing Thailand, out with 20 points.
In 6th place, we have Muhammad Kamal from Malaysia with 20 points. Freddie Teo in P7 with 13 points. Gavin Peterson in 8th place with 12 points. Then we have 9th place, Bobby Susanto with 4 points. And finally, we have Damien Lowe in 10th place with 3 points.
Now that would all change potentially for
sure.
the next 2 races, because there are 2 more races happening tonight. How would that play into the points system for the drivers? Like we mentioned earlier, they are fighting for individual glory, they're fighting for national pride, they're fighting for team pride as well. We're going to find out very soon. And for round 4, we are heading over to the Netherlands to circuit Zandvoort. So this is a 4.25 kilometer racetrack with a total of 15 corners. Fatris, tell us a little bit more about this circuit.
Well, the circuit has definitely tricky points to it, but I feel like from my experience is that, if you manage to get those, the corners linked up perfect, I think it's very satisfying for a driver, especially on turn 3, because turn 3 is actually, it's quite visible in the game. It's actually quite a deep banking to it.
Right.
So yeah, it's quite nice. And like for the last sector, we have heavy braking points, and then we also have chicanes. So it'll be quite interesting to see how the drivers stack up in Circuit Zandvoort.
I have a technical question for you, Fatris. So you mentioned about banking corners.
Yeah.
How does that affect the conventional driving lines for the race drivers? Does it change the dynamics of how they're supposed to take the lines?
For sure. So like with bank corners, you can actually carry way more speed.
Okay.
Especially for cars which have more camber. So like if you have more camber, you can take the corner more aggressively, and then especially if you have downforce, especially, you can take way more speed with bank corners compared to conventional flat corners. So I think for the race drivers will use that to their advantage, and perhaps we'll see some interesting overtakes on the bank corners.
All right, well, I believe the qualifying session is currently ongoing, so why don't we jump into the qualifying session and see how these drivers are doing. All right, so currently leading this qualifying session with 6.5 minutes to go is Russell Reyes, who is also the pro category leader with the most points at this point of time. There will be obviously 2 races happening tonight, so let's hope that he will be able to hold on to that position with all those very, very important points. Gentle reminder for the time and the car numbers that you see on the left side. The numbers in white represent the pro drivers, and the numbers in red represent the M category.
On board now with Sergey, and as you can see, like, he's taking a lot of curb, and this was the bank corner I was talking about, turn 3. Yeah, as you can see, he's using all of the exit, chasing the car in front of him, which is, I believe, from GMX. And then now we are with Russell Reyes through the high-speed section of this circuit, which I think really demands, you know, skill and precision for drivers.
That's right. Now, it's interesting to see how Assetto Corsa Competizione is so realistic, because when we look at the track, you can see the tire marks, but you can also kind of see the dirty segments of the track, which gives you a little bit of a hint towards how to take some of the lines, maybe, especially like what you mentioned earlier, Fatras, in terms of using the bank, you know, full camber on, I guess, to get as much grip and traction and therefore speeds. Okay, we're now on board with Russell Reyes. I believe that this will be his first flying lap. Let's see what kind of lap times he is able to produce. He is, like I mentioned earlier, the current leader for the pro category and overall leader as well. So let's see if he's able to clock and bang in a good lap time and maybe start in pole position.
Yeah, another thing to point as well is that we only have 5 minutes left in qualifying, so drivers will have to be on the zone, and they'll have to clock in their lap times. I believe within 3 laps.
I believe so. Maybe 4 if they're able to squeeze in that final flying lap. But like we talked about tire degradation, it will come into play as well. However, at the same time, fuel would be lower, which means the vehicle will be a little bit lighter. So that could also be beneficial. But okay, current lap times we have coming in already. Martono currently leading with a 1 minute 34.6 seconds. Russell Reyes as second position. Ardianza in third, and Sergio in fourth.
On board now with Sergey as he's taking the high-speed right-hander, which actually goes downhill quite a fair bit, so you have to be careful on the exit.
And I mean, this is such a complicated track for a lot of drivers. A little slight of a slip there, I think. But yeah, these drivers need to be 101 position maxed out, I believe, because one small twitch, one minor mistake, especially here at the qualifying session, since there's only 8 minutes in total, it really changes how the race would start, and of course will potentially emotionally affect the drivers as well going into the 20-minute race that will be happening soon.
For sure. So now we are on board with Dafa, who's 6/10 slower than Presley, who's in P1. So it'll be really interesting to see whether he's able to improve his timing or whether he will stay in P5, which I think it's pretty decent.
Well, I think it's a good start. This will be their second flying lap, if I'm not wrong, and whether they're able to squeeze up 4 laps or not remains to be seen, with only 3 minutes left on the clock here in the Netherlands. There are 2 drivers who have not yet clocked in any qualifying lap times yet. That is currently in 14th position, Tio, car number 33, as well as Ron Quilio in car number 953, both drivers in the M category. It seems like Ron Quilio is in the pits. Hopefully the driver will come out soon and clock a qualifying time.
So now we have Irfan now in the purple car, which looks pretty nice. I love the white and purple combination. And as well, last week you mentioned his race number 404, right?
Yes. So let's see if that number means anything at all, and if those colors are going to be lucky colors for Irfan. Currently in 10th position. And again, I believe this should be his second flying lap halfway across the circuit. Now let's see how well he is able to squeeze out the time. I think the key thing is to get a lap time first and then try your best to focus on improving a lap time. And he does it. He's now back all the way up to 8th position with 1 minute and 55 seconds left on the clock. That means this would potentially be his final flying lap, I believe. And let's see if he's able to improve on that lap time any further than he just did.
On board with Sergey now as he goes through the final right-hander. He's more than well, it's almost 6 tenths slower than Dafa in P1, who's taken the lead from Presley, I believe. Oh no, wait, no, now Presley got the lead again. So now Presley is in P1, Dafa in P2. Sergey, unfortunately, still in P5 and unable to improve his time.
Well, like we talked about earlier, tire degradation will definitely be already kicked in. You can see Russell Reyes' a car there, I think, just losing traction just for a little bit. May or may not affect the overall lap time and the sector timings, but it is such precision driving required by these drivers. We are now camera on Art, I believe he's from Thailand, in car number 83. That beautiful, I believe that's fuchsia pink and black design. This is one of my favorite livery of this season so far. I'm not trying to pick favorites, but personal preferences. I really love these colors on this car. And let's see what kind of lap time he's going to be able to produce. Currently in third for the M category.
I think something that's interesting as well, that's evident in this track, is that you can see a lot of drivers now actually oversteering with the GT3, which I believe has something to do with the nature of the track. Zandvoort being a track which has not many high-speed corners where the downforce will be used.
Right.
So yeah, like from last week, Suzuka, obviously you have 130R and you have Spoon Corner where it's relatively mid to high-speed corners where the downforce is working. So now we get to see, you know, the skill and in fact the setup of the car as well.
That's very true. I mean, all the time that the drivers put in for practice, but they also need to be able to set up their cars properly. Okay, so Russell Reyes has crossed the start-finish line just as the clock winded down to 0, so that will be the end of qualifying session for him. Currently in third position, in fourth position currently is Nabil, and currently in fifth position is Seguier. I believe Martono and Ardianza have not crossed the start-finish line yet, therefore they have not, you don't see the checkered flag logo next to their car number. And let's see how well they're able. Oh wait, I'm sorry, they're back in the pits.
Yeah.
Alright, so I think that pretty much settles it. Freddie Teo now in car number 33, trying to clock a lap time as well for himself. This would be interesting as it comes across to the start-finish. Oh, good job, coming up to 13th, one position ahead of Peterson. All right, there we have it. That was a brief glimpse of our starting grid for round 4 here at Zandvoort Circuit in the Netherlands. That was a pretty impressive drive from all the drivers. Fadris, what do you think about it?
Yeah, I think it was an impressive drive by especially Presley. He, in fact, took the lead from the start of the qualifying from his first flying lap.
Yep.
And even though he dropped a few places, he got his composure and managed to get back P1 in the end. So yeah, can't wait to see how it pans out for him in the race.
And that's quite important, isn't it, right? Regaining that composure or settling into, I don't want to say race pace, but settling in the mental mind frame, mind frame, is that the right term?
That's right.
Before, at the start of the race, I'm sure all the drivers are nervous and excited, and so maybe the outlap and the first lap really helps them settle down. Sure. But okay, that was the qualifying session for round 4. We're going to go for a short break before we jump in to the race.
Round 4 of the TCL GT World Challenge Asia Esports Championship presented by Tarmac Works is set to get underway. There is Luis Moreno. He blasts back onto the racetrack.
All right, welcome to the Netherlands, welcome to Circuit Zandvoort, and welcome to round 4 of the Legion of Racers Asia Championship, presented to you by Tarmac Works. We are on the starting grid right now with 1 minute and 15 seconds to go before the race starts. Fatris, really quickly now, as a sim driver, as a professional sim driver, in this position right now, how do you think the drivers are feeling?
Well, I think no matter how much, how much of a professional you are, I think you still feel that, sense of nervousness, of course.
Right.
Yeah, and I mean, but from my experience, I think I would just try to calm myself down. In fact, I listen to some music as well.
Oh,
before
interesting.
the race, yeah. So each drivers have their own sort of calming mode before the race. Yeah.
I think music is definitely something that would be useful for the drivers to calm their anxiety down, calm their nervousness down. Some of these drivers probably feeling a little bit more nervous than the others, especially those that have points that they want to get from this race and maybe even the next race, because they are fighting for potential championship situation for the drivers.
Yeah.
This has been a very interesting season for us here at the Legion of Racers. Thank you all for joining us here, live streaming to you straight from our studio with 10 seconds to go. Drivers are now already gearing to go full throttle. It will be a rolling start, so we will see how these drivers handle themselves for formation lap, and I believe that will be starting really soon. And there we go, drivers are now moving off. Currently, pole position was given to Martono for a very impressive qualifying session.
I think really good start from GMX Phantom as well, because first, second, third, and fourth are all GMX cars. So it's quite interesting to see, same livery cars. It's like, being in a nightmare, obviously, in a nightmare almost. But yeah, it's quite nice to see GMX there performing to their best.
Well, I'm very sure for some of the other drivers behind these top 4, seeing 4 identical livery in front of them will be motivation to push a little bit harder, brake a little bit later, and try to take some positions away from these 4 drivers. We are now on board with Presley, Martono, back view. You can see Ardianza, Reyes, and Nabil, like you mentioned earlier, Fatris, all in the same livery. Really impressive stuff from these drivers.
Impressive stuff as well. And car number 32 is leading. Hong, what's your race number again?
It depends.
Depends, right.
In real life, if given the choice, it would be 99, 999, either one.
999.
Yeah.
99.
There is the whole nitro involvement of the
99, 999, 9999.
No, either 99 or 999.
Oh, right. No.
So
I see.
You do need to clock in, register soon, quickly rather, because if the numbers are taken, then unfortunately, move on to the next numbers. I don't see any 99s or 999s here, so maybe 2023 season we need some drivers with those numbers representing Nitro, maybe.
I gotta say, I love the idea of the number 44 as your race number. Yeah.
Yeah, well, let's see. Irfan in 7th. Oh, I thought he qualified 8th position. So it seems like Irfan qualified 7th.
Yeah, maybe he improved his time.
Yeah, probably on that final lap. Great performance then. But yeah, further down the line, we see in 5th position will be Sergia starting in 5th position, Cruz starting in 6th, Irfan starting in 7th, Balagulan starting in 8th, Moyen starting in 9th, and Armit starting in 10th.
And in 11th we have Dinaldi, in 12th we have Muhammad Ali, 13th we have Theo, 14th we have Peterson, and lastly we have Ronquillo in 15th place.
That's right. Now the 15 drivers are now slowly getting into formation. A little bit more of the weaving left-right to warm up those tires. I'm sure some of them are throttling and braking at the same time as well, using the brakes to warm up their brakes and also warming up the tires. In fact, from personal experience, that is one of the better ways to warm up your tires and brakes at the same time in real life. And
efficiently.
I believe efficiently, exactly. And I believe that's the same for the sim drivers here now as they come toward the front straight, getting ready for their race. This is round 4 of the 2022 Legion of Racers Asia Championship. Lights are about to go green. Drivers are all getting ready now, waiting for those lights to hit the right color for them to go full throttle to the metal. And we can see now the green flags are out, the drivers are on full throttle, and it is race time.
Up they go to turn 1, and as you can see now, Matono has gotten, he didn't cover the inside line from his teammates, and now he's spreading the gap from P2, which is Adiansa, I believe.
That's right, a very, very clean start, a clinical start once again from all 15 drivers in both the Pro categories and the AM categories. Really, really good stuff. Matono, pole position starter, now leading the race on lap 1. This is a 20-minute sprint race, 19.5 minutes left to go. So they have just cleared sector 1, and it seems like they are slowly settling in nice and easy into what will be their race pace maybe.
Yeah, as you can see now, they're taking really similar lines through the last sector of the track, I believe, which is quite tricky because there are a lot of blind apexes. So you got to be really careful on where you're braking and where you're turning in. On board now with Sergei in P4, chasing his teammate, Reyes in 3rd place. As you can see, he's catching up on the apex, but on the exit, Reyes has just that little bit more pace than Sergei.
That's right. It seems like Nabil has dropped down to 5th position.
Right.
So interesting situation we're looking at. Let's see what happens when the drivers cross the start-finish line. At least for now, we have Matono still leading the race. Adiansa 0.6 of a second behind, and Russell Reyes 0.3 of a second behind. So, okay, from this outside view, it does seem like Segia has gotten up to 4th position. Nabil dropping down to the 5th position. And I believe that is where we're going to see some exciting battles happen as well. And drivers now completing lap 1 out of however many laps happens for this race. 18 minutes to go here at round 4 here in Circuit Zandvoort.
Really interesting to see how Presley is spreading the gap from P2. Now on board with Cruz now in P7 with the bright blue GTR, chasing down Irfan in 6th place with the car number 404 we were talking about earlier.
That's right. So as we mentioned earlier, if you look at the competition numbers on the left, the numbers in white are the Pro category and the numbers in red are AM category. And looking at Cruz, car number 333, not too far away behind Irfan, that is the leader of the AM category and the current tail of the Pro category. We are now on board with Irfan, looking at how Cruz is really attacking. It seems like he's hunting left and right, looking for good spot to overtake. You can see him flashing those headlights as well. Bit of intimidation, but oh, wait a minute, where is this guy coming from? That is Balagulan coming in from the inside lane. I think he's trying to take opportunity of these two drivers who are fighting each other and now going side by side with Cruz. Amazing stuff. Perfect use of taking an opportunity. Door closed at this point, but still very early in the race. Awesome driving from these drivers now.
Nice driving, and good of Balagulan to make use of the situation of Cruz and Irfan battling it out and trying to overtake them and trying to, you know, capitalize on the situation that they're both in.
No, Fadris, I think you're absolutely right. The word is to capitalize on each other. You can see the drivers going to the bumpers to catch a little bit of slipstream. Seems like Irfan's slowing down. Not too sure what's going on there. Might be a puncture, might be some issues with the car. Hopefully not an issue with, well, it seems like he came back out. Nevertheless, that is good news for Cruz, also good news for Balagulan. In fact, I think it's good news for the entire grid behind Irfan, who was in 6th position, defending that position as well. Not too sure what happened there. Let's hope we find out soon enough. But here we are, camera view from the helicopter, our favorite view as well, from top down, bird's eye view. This is Balagulan currently in 7th position, I believe. Closely behind is Moihin.
And with that incident as well, Taufik Moin has managed to catch up almost half a second, I believe, up to Balagulan and Cruz. So he might want to make his move now before they start pulling away.
That's right. So let's see if he has any pace. And it seems like he's telling us that he does have a little bit of pace, coming in really close, probably about 1.5 meters away behind Balagulan. Okay, let's spread out a little bit more now, but into the corners. Let's see how late he brakes. It does seem like he has a little bit of a late braking as compared to Balagulan. Okay, the camera now on Russell Reyes, car number 311 in 3rd position, behind Ardiansa, who is behind Martono, who just clocked the fastest lap time for this race so far.
Yeah, it'd be interesting how the battle for P3 goes, or P2 in fact the whole battle of the top P5, because they are so close with one another. It's less than 1 second from each other, and I think it'll be interesting to see how it pans out. On board now, cameras on rather, Balagulan, who's catching up to Cruz in 6th place. And yeah, it's putting the pressure on Cruz, and Cruz is dealing with it rather well, not making any unforced errors, apart from missing slightly the apex there. But at the same time now, Taufik Moin has caught up less than half a second behind Balagulan, in fact. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top.
That's right, this is battle for 6th, battle for 7th. These are your top 3 drivers from the M category in round 4 here at Circuit Zandvoort. And the drivers really using the full width of the track whenever possible. And just like you mentioned again, Fatris, also using that bank. Oh, we seem to have an issue here now with Nabel, who is dropping down the charts. He was in 5th position. Not sure what's happening there, just not moving at all.
Yeah, interesting. So now that means, yeah, Reyes is up to 3rd place, and Sergei is up to 4th, and Cruz is up to 5th. Yeah, unfortunate there, but yeah, on board now with Cruz, who's leading the pack of 3 cars with Balagulan and Moin behind him.
That's right. Now I'm looking at the timing sheet on the left. It seems that Nabil's back at the pits, so there might be a technical issue. We'll find out later. Irfan's still in the race, currently dropping all the way down to 11th position. That should be painful, really painful, in fact. But you know, race is not over, like they say, right? It's not over till you cross the start-finish line. So still a lot of opportunities for him to climb back up into top 10.
For sure. And now we see Balagulan not giving up the gap, still maintaining his gap of less than half a second, which is really close to Cruz in front. I think Cruz must be feeling the pressure now.
That's right. I mean, some minor twitching at the front, but it might also be how the cars are set up, because like you mentioned earlier last week as well, Fatris, that some drivers such as yourself may prefer it to be a little bit twitchy, a little bit less stable, because that is just the personal driving preferences. This helicopter view, once again, you can see very clearly how aggressive these drivers are, how aggressive Cruz is in terms of trying to defend his position, how aggressive Balagulan is in terms of how he's trying to take that position away from Cruz. These are the top 3 drivers for the M category, but we're also looking at 5th and 6th overall. This is the battle.
Yeah, Balagulan is slightly later on the brakes, and now on board with Ronquillo, who's in 13th place, qualified 14th if I'm not wrong.
That's correct. No, I think he qualified 15th.
15th, so he's gone up 2 positions there with Dafa in the pits, and I think he's overtaken Peterson, which is now in 14th place, and he's already now trying to overtake Teo in front of him, who is in 12th place.
That's right, Freddie Teo in the car number 33 in 12th position, trying to defend that position from Ronquillo, and it seems that Ronquillo is going to start pushing and pushing and pushing. We are almost at the halfway point of this race. These drivers, they're not giving up any time soon. You can see them just going off, no cares, no concerns, because they're full target sight on the car ahead of them.
Yeah, of course, and then now, as you can see, Ronquillo is now slightly later on the brakes compared to Teo, so he's caught up by, you know, almost 2 tenths now. He's lesser than a tenth, I believe.
Seems to be a little bit less of the high beam flashing from the drivers here, but it doesn't mean they are any less aggressive. They are still going full beams.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, now on board with Balagulan in P5. He's still less than half a second on Cruz, relentless in his battle to get P5 from Cruz. As you can see now, Taufik has dropped a little bit back by 1/10 or so to half a tenth to the gap to Balagulan. However, he's still not out of it, because if Balagulan decides to overtake Cruz, that gives Taufik the opportunity to catch up and perhaps do a move himself.
That's right. Oh, look at how close they come. Braking really late there, Balagulan. We are on board in his car number 5. Not losing too much pace there, thankfully for him. And for Cruz, looking in the mirror, maybe thinking a different story altogether. But here are these 2 drivers battling for 5th position. I have to say, Fatris, like in a situation like this, if you were in Balagulan's situation, are you going to try to maintain that pressure and hope that Cruz makes a mistake, or what would the strategy be here right now for him?
I think, in my opinion, I think I would stay. I'll maintain the pressure up to perhaps like the 2nd or 3rd last lap, and then I'll make my move. Because if, for example, if I were to make the move now, that gives Taufik the opportunity to catch up and perhaps put myself in the danger of getting overtaken by Taufik himself. So I think he has really, a lot to think of in that position.
That's right. I think you're absolutely right, Fatris. Just maintaining the pressure on the car in front of you can be such a mentally stressful thing for that driver who is in front of you.
For sure.
We are now on board with Irfan. Currently, he dropped all the way down to 11th, but is slowly starting to reel in Denaldi directly in front of him in car number 92. And in fact, Muhammad Ali is also in sights as well. Irfan now wanting to get back into that top 10. As we talked about, even in top 10, you need to be in top 10 rather in order to get into the points.
For sure. As you can see now, Denaldi is sliding a little bit on the last sector, which allowed Irfan to catch up to Denaldi in front. So yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if Irfan makes the move within next lap, I believe.
That's right. It would be pretty awesome if we had the chance to see sector timings as well, because it would allow us to predict a little bit better on how fast these drivers are, and as well as when the opportunity for overtaking happens. But here we are, Balagulan on the front straight, right on the tail of Cruz, catching a little bit of that slipstream, breaking into turn 1. Again, braking really much later. In fact, you can see the lights turn on in front of Cruz, but still no opportunities yet, no window, no gap.
Yeah, not yet. And I believe the sort of key overtaking opportunities in this track will be up to the chicane in the last sector and turn 1, obviously.
Well, that's right. So these drivers are now moving toward the halfway point of this circuit. Very technical circuit, not the easiest. I think this is indeed a circuit that requires a lot of practice.
Not my favorite as well.
But you did mention earlier, Fatris, that this is a circuit where there are a lot of blind corners, and therefore that the amount of practice that needs to come in is absolutely phenomenal. Just like the drivers who are driving that are on your screen right now, phenomenal driving from them. Again, still on Balagulan, who is still on the tail of Cruz. These two coming very inches away from one another, in and out of those corners. Impressive driving.
Yeah, impressive driving now. Presley has now gotten a new fastest lap, and he's really pulled away from his teammate Adiansa in second place by almost 2.5 seconds, so that's good job on him. But now this is really interesting to see Balagulan's strategy now coming up to 7 minutes left on the race, and it'll be really interesting to see whether Taufik, Balagulan or Cruz comes out alive.
So this is the part, right? We talk about this every single time we're commentating sim racing. Even in sim racing, there will be driver fatigue. The drivers will get a bit tired. If there's a lot of pressure and stress coming from other competitors, that would increase that fatigue. And these drivers are definitely starting to feel that right now. And on top of all that, tire degradation.
Yeah, and now on board with Theo, with Ronquillo still behind him, less than 0.3 a second, and Theo there feeling the pressure from Ronquillo behind him.
We might be seeing a similar strategy between these two drivers as well as Cruz and Balagulan. Right now, we may have Ronquillo just staying behind Freddie Theo, just trying to apply that pressure, build up that pressure, maintain the momentum. No flashing of high beams yet, but that pressure is definitely on. Freddie Theo would need to have ice cold nerves to maintain that 12th position.
For sure, and really hats off to these drivers, because pressure is a key factor to making mistakes. So it's nice to see that he has his pressure under control from Ronquillo behind him.
Absolutely. I wonder if the drivers also have like calming music playing in the background while they're racing as well. Once again, back on board with Balagulan on the tail of Cruz. And we've been seeing a lot of Cruz's rear end, if you may, for this round so far in car number 333. But we're almost 15 minutes down into the race with only 5.5 minutes remaining. Just like you said, Matono, once again clocking the fastest lap time with almost a 2.5 second lead ahead of teammate Ardiansa, as well as Russell Reyes, who is in the lead in terms of championship points before this race started and before this race ended. We saw how close Balagulan went onto the tail of Cruz. I think you're right, Fadris, like you said, you will want to maintain the pressure all the way until the last 2 or last 3 laps before really cranking it up to 101% and finding a gap or pushing the driver ahead to make a mistake.
And now we have Russell Reyes catching up to Adensa, less than half a tenth entering the last sector. It'll be really interesting to see whether or not Reyes will be able to overtake his teammate, or whether or not they decide to keep their positions.
That's right. Now, I'm pretty sure Russell Reyes would have done some math because he is racing with his teammates, but he is the leader in terms of championship points. So finishing this race in 3rd position would give him 15 points, while his teammate Adiansa finishing in 2nd would give him 18 points. So I'm sure some of the team managers or assistants are doing some mathematical calculations right now to telling Russell Reyes, maybe you do need to push, maybe you should push and overtake your teammate if possible to get those highly coveted points, but at the same time they don't want to cause an incident between the two of them.
I think that would be
tragic.
That'd be tragic for the team.
Tragic for the team, tragic for both drivers as well. But they are professionals, they do know what they're doing, and they do communicate a lot.
As you can see now, Cruz is defending the inside line from Balagulan, who's finally decided to attack him.
That's right, that was a pretty aggressive defensive line coming out really quickly. Good job on that part, closing the door. Shutting the door on Balagulan, not allowing him to cross on the outside at that point. But it isn't over yet because Balagulan still ice nerves on his tail.
And like I mentioned earlier, just from that single move in turn 1, defending the inside, Taufik has now gotten less than half a second behind Balagulan, which also puts him in the attack range to dive Balagulan or Cruz.
That's right, just like you said, it may be an opportunity for either driver or both drivers to capitalize on whatever happens. That was a very, very aggressive line. But good job there, holding it tight, and really turning up the pressure. You can feel it, and you can feel it from the scenes that you're seeing on your screen on this live stream broadcast right now, that Balagulan has indeed turned on the pressure, and Taufik as well. You can see that gap closing, less than barely 2/10 of a second behind. These 3 drivers are now really in full attack mode. Yeah,
as you can see now, Balagulan is inches away from Cruz's rear bumper. And something to mention as well in ECC is that even if you have the slightest of touch, your car will go into a spin, or if you're fast enough, you can catch the slide.
Right, and with all these banking corners, that little bit of contact could be devastating for the drivers. Let's hope none of that happens tonight. I believe we will have these drivers continue to try their best for clean racing, which is something that's so impressive, also because they are the professionals. But we are looking at the top 3 drivers in the M category. They are professionals in my books, and battle goes on, final 2 minutes.
Yeah, definitely now entering turn 3, which I think is the most tricky. Now on board with Dafa. In fact, Reyes has managed to overtake Dafa, so the race up to P2 now. Dafa in P3, Sergey in P4.
That's
and
right,
Matono now almost, let's see, 3.7 seconds in front. So yeah, Matono has just washed his hands and say bye-bye and pulled away.
He will still need to finish the race, cross the start-finish line in that position. But that 3.7-second gap that you just mentioned, Fadris, is indeed a very comfortable cushion.
For sure.
And I believe Russell Reyes' teammates would have done some math for him, and maybe that was what happened. We wouldn't know. Getting those points, right? Getting that 18 points instead of 15 points, finishing the race in 2nd position will be so important for Russell Reyes.
For sure. And just at the back of shot there, we can see Sergey, who's almost 4.5 seconds behind Adiansa. So yeah, really interesting. And something to mention as well is that the difference between the 4th place and 5th place is 9 seconds, which is, I think, something which is quite admirable of the M category people, because they have managed to somehow keep up with the pace or thereabouts with people from the pro category.
No, absolutely, and it is very difficult to do so because constantly under pressure as well. Looking again at the timesheets, Nabil seems to be no longer in the pits, so maybe that was a technical issue and is back out on track. Not too sure about that. We will have a little bit more information after the race. But right now, with only 18, 17, 16 seconds to go, all eyes on Presley Martono, car number 32 in a pro category, leading the race from start to finish, pole position.
Yep.
Let's see if this is going to be a winning lap for him. I believe it should be, barring any incidents, which we obviously hope will not happen. But that's right, all cameras, all eyes on him right now as he come on to this final lap.
Yeah, it's a comfortable 3.7 second gap there from his teammate, who's just at the back of shot there, which might, put off the pressure off him and just cruise the car home onto the finish line.
That's right, and cruising is precisely how Cruz is feeling right now, I hope, I believe. Still holding on to that 5th position with Balagulan. 4/10 of a second behind him. Look at that beautiful shot. Thank you to the camera crew for that quick response as well. But this is the final lap. The question is, will Balagulan be able to overtake? Will Taufik be able to overtake? We'll find out momentarily from now. Presley Martono is the winner of round 4 here at Zandvoort. Congratulations to Martono, Russell Reyes, and Ardiansa and Sergey. All 4 drivers have crossed the start-finish line. Karen now on to this battle for 5th position. Cruz cruising to a finish. Fantastic battle for those 3 drivers as well. Brilliant driving. Unbelievable stuff. Amazing stuff. Wow, what an amazing race that was, Fatris.
Yep.
Just a quick gentle reminder, the results are provisional, so do stay tuned to Instagram, TikTok, and our Facebook accounts for the final results to be announced. Congratulations to Martono for taking that win from pole to finish. What do you think about the race, Fatris?
I think, Presley did an amazing job pulling away from the rest of the field. And also, it was quite interesting to see, was it in 5th place? It was
Cruz.
Yes, cruising.
Cruising to the finish.
Yeah, so it was interesting to see Cruz, keeping the pressure under control and just maintaining his gap from Balagulan, who was relentless.
Absolutely relentless. From start to finish, just keeping that pressure on. And just like you predicted, the final 2-3 laps when the Balagulan really turned up, really cranked up the heat, really started pushing Cruz. But Cruz, nerves of steel, holding his fort, maintaining that 5th position and cruising to a top position for the M category.
Yeah, and props to him. And props to Irfan as well, who dropped, I think he had some issues with his car earlier on.
Right.
And he managed to climb up to P11, I believe.
That's correct.
Which is admirable.
Absolutely. Unfortunate not to get into the top 10 to get the points. But nevertheless, it's always better to finish the race than to have a DNF right next to your name. All right, well, we will be moving off to round 5 momentarily. Like we mentioned earlier, it will be a 25-minute sprint race. It is the season finale of the 2022 Legion of Races Asia Championship, presented to you by Tarmac Works. Coming back to you after this short messages.
Round 4 of the TCL GT World Challenge Asia Esports Championship, presented by Tarmac Works, is set to get underway. There is Luis Moreno. He blasts back onto the racetrack.
Hello and welcome back to the 2022 Legion of Racers Asia Championship presented to you by Tarmac Works. We just witnessed round 4, amazing driving from all the drivers from start to finish, and we will be moving off to round 5 momentarily. But at this point, a real quick shout out to all our sponsors and partners. Of course, our title sponsor, Tarmac Works, as well as Logitech, TikTok, Prism Plus, and Aftershocks.
We have Moto as well, Monster Energy, Next Level Racing, Nitro, Picnic, and this awesome Shockcaster headphones by Bear Dynamic.
Now, speaking of sponsors, and more specifically our friends from Tarmac Works, if any of you are keen on getting this limited edition, special edition design t-shirt, you can see one right here as well. That's what is on the back of the t-shirt, this GTR design. Really, really nice stuff. You can get it at the Legion of Racers Instagram account.
Yeah, for sure, and grab yours while available because these are actually limited. So yeah, just text our Instagram and just get one. Honestly, it's quite nice. Yeah, and yeah, another question, Hong, for you. What do you think is the key difference from sim racing and real life racing?
Well, I think there are quite a fair bit of differences, but both are very complementary with one another. It's not something that has been that mainstream maybe even just 5 years ago. Whereas sim racing, sim training has really taken a life of its own. Both complement each other, both are beneficial to each other. I think from a sim training point of view, it allows the drivers who may be going to race in real life at a certain circuit that he or she or they has never been to before. And I think that's a great opportunity. Learning the lines, learning your braking points, even if it's not 100%, it gives you a good feel, gives you a good gauge. But at the same time, there is a flip side to the story. So in real life racing, you will experience things such as extreme heats. You will have your windows fogging up if it's raining on the outside, for example. And of course, G-forces. I know there's some sim racing rigs that vibrate and move and all that great stuff, but it's still a little bit different from real life racing, the G-forces. But nevertheless, it's, in my personal opinion, definitely complementary, definitely beneficial for both segments of the industry.
Yeah, I mean, I believe you do a fair bit of racing as well yourself, right, Hong? So would you like to tell us a little bit more about that?
So I've done a little bit of racing. My first race, which was my most memorable race, was in 2011, my first FIA race. And the funny story is, one of my competitors on that race is actually the co-founder of the Legion of Racers, Lim Kyung-wee. And he showed up in a Lotus. I was in a Honda Civic EK9, so we were in different categories. But it was quite a great experience. But back then, at that point of time, I guess sim racing or sim training was not readily available unless you were maybe Formula 1 level, DTM level, Super GT level. So wait, I think back then it was still called JGTC and not Super GT.
Yeah, JGTC, Japan Grand Touring Car Championship.
Yes, that's way more than 10 years. A decade ago, wow. Amazing how esports has developed so much that we are here right now.
Such a short span of time as well, within 10 years.
Exactly.
Anyway, speaking of the races, didn't you win one of those races?
Well, you did your homework. I was very, very fortunate. I was very, very blessed that I had very, very talented teammates to race with me, and also an amazing crew and team as well. So yes, it was 3 drivers, including myself, standing at the top of the podium after 9 hours. That sensation, that feeling it's life-changing. So
it was in Sepang, right?
Yes, it was the Sepang 1,000 kilometer endurance race 2016.
Yeah, especially in Malaysian weather, it's toasty out there.
I think
incredibly toasty.
Toasty is an understatement. Absolutely an understatement.
Yeah, I'm sure all of us are at home, and in fact, I would like to wish you all the best for your race next weekend.
Thank you so much, Patris. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Thank you to everyone who's watching as well. But okay, I think we do need to kind of move away from talking about real-life racing, because what's the most important and exciting thing happening tonight? It is Round 5, season finale of the Legion of Racers Asia Championship, presented to you by Tarmac Works. Let's take a quick look at the circuit that they will be competing in. This is Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya in Spain. It is a 4.655 kilometer track with 16 corners in total. Fudris, tell us a little bit more about this circuit, please.
Well, I think Barcelona is an incredibly, in fact, it's one of my favorite tracks apart from Suzuka, because especially in turn 4 on Repsol corner, it's a really, yes, it's a corner where you need to trail brake a lot, and actually you can use a lot of the exit on the exit of turn 4, which means you can really put the power down early, and yeah, and approach turn 5 with ease. And turn 5 as well, the braking point is downhill, so you got to be really cautious on where you brake and where you position your car on the track. And then obviously we have the chicanes in the last sector before the final corner, and yeah, it'll be really, really interesting to see how the GT3 cars handle those curbs.
And also very interesting to see how the drivers perform for this race. Okay, we're going to go for a quick short break before we jump into qualifying.
Round 4 of the TCL GT World Challenge Asia Esports Championship presented by Tarmac Works is set to get underway. There is Luis Moreno. He blasts back onto the racetrack.
Alrighty, 6.5 minutes to go for this qualifying session. 8 minutes in total, so these drivers are already out on their outlap, and very soon, very quickly, they will be attempting their time lap here at the Barcelona circuit.
Yeah, on board now Reyes as he goes on his first flying lap of Barcelona. So yeah, it will be quite interesting to see where he breaks on turn 1. I believe that will be around the 150-100 marker. So yeah, 100 there. Yep.
Ooh, a little bit late.
A little bit later than 100, which is quite brave.
Managing to connect those two corners quite nicely.
For sure.
So, Fatras, what would be a good lap time for these drivers in the Nissan GTR GT3 here at Barcelona?
Well, I think a really, really quick lap time will be around 44 or 145. And yeah, let's see whether the top 5 drivers will be able to hit the 143 mark, which will be really, really, really fast.
Well, it will be very, very impressive to see that happen. The funny thing is, the possibility of that happening is actually there. These are some of the fastest drivers in all of Southeast Asia. And so, yeah, we are now helicopter view with Russell Reyes. I'm not even sure if this is a helicopter view or a drone view.
I think I can hear the helicopter, the chopper sound.
You can hear the blades? Alright, well, helicopter view it is then. We are now up in the air. Camera on Freddie Teo in car number 33. Very interesting colors there for his livery choice as well. Reminds me a little bit of Petronas. Maybe that turquoise color.
And the black and white and the grey as well.
Right, a really nice design there.
Really nice.
And I think the drivers are also trying to space out now so that they have a little bit of a clean air, or rather clean, well, open roads in front of them. You can see him. They're slowing down to allow the other drivers to overtake. Very gentlemanly.
Wow, 43.0, man, that's incredibly, that's incredible. That is crazy.
And you just said it, right? Fudris, you said a 144 would be good, a 145 would be decent, a 143 would be amazing. That is a 143 flat.
Yeah, and I believe, I think Niels, an international sim racer, he recently did a what do you call it, a tutorial on GTR and Barcelona. I think he did a 42.7, I believe.
All right.
Which is yeah, incredibly close to Presley's time now, which is just an indication of how fast Presley really is.
That's right. Now the setup of the car is also very important. These drivers have just completed a race at Zandvoort, and they would have to do all the magical wizardry in terms of how the car is set up before the start of this race. I know from personal experience where I finished one race and then moving on to the next round, I did not do any changes because I forgot. So I was racing in completely wrong settings. Definitely not something happening to any of these 15 drivers here, because unlike myself, these 15 drivers are professional sim drivers. But yes, on the clock right now, we already have a 1:43 from Martono, followed by Nabil with a 0.5 of a second behind him, and then 0.6 of a second behind is Sergei. Cameron now on Sergei in car number 11 with, is that Irfan behind him? No, that's not. But yeah, one of the GMX drivers closely behind him.
Yep, I believe that is Presley or Nabil. No, Nabil is in the pits. One of the GMX drivers lah.
Right, already turning on the pressure. And interesting stuff here. Gentle reminder, this is qualifying, not the race. And but the drivers are slowly clocking in their fastest lap times. Again, qualifying will determine the starting position, the starting grid of round 5, which will happen after this session. It will be a 25-minute race for the finale, and all drivers definitely excited to go.
Yeah, something that is really common in F1 is something called tow, which is using the car in front for slipstream in qualifying. So perhaps that's what's happening now on our screens. And now we are on board with Dinaldi in P10, who is recently on that lap, in fact, managed to improve his time over Muhammad Ali in P11.
That's right. Now we still have one driver that does not have a timed lap yet, and that is Ronquillo, who is currently in 15th. I believe driver is out on track, so hopefully this lap, or rather within the next 1 minute and 35 seconds, will clock a qualifying lap time. Martono back in the pits already, very confident of himself, I believe. And Russell Reyes shortly behind.
Yeah, and Martono managed to improve his time there to an incredible 1:42.742. That's incredible. And Russell now as well in the 42s along with Martono, which is, wow, that's just, even I can't do that. That's crazy.
I believe the drivers are also watching and listening to the live stream as well. What you just said just now about Niles getting the 1:42.7, you have provided inspiration to the drivers, Fudgers, to these two top drivers. And Russell Reyes comes in with a 1:42.5 lap time, dominating that chart right now onto the final 45 seconds of this qualifying session. Martono may have returned to the pits a little bit too early there, but the teammates are in communication. And Russell Reyes doing a very quick parking by the side, showing you guys that I am done as well. I'm confident that this is a lap time for everyone else to beat. The question is, will any other driver beat that 1:42.5 lap time?
Well, let's see now on board with Dinaldi as he goes through the final right-hander, crossing the finish line right about now, and let's see whether he improves. He does, and he gets in front of Taufik Moin now in P11 and Dinaldi up to P10.
That's right. Cameras now on Sergei. It seems like, I think it was Ardiansa who was behind, just moving off to descend. A lot of traffic, a lot of parked cars rather. Not sure what's going on there. I don't think you should just stop your car on the track if you are done with your session. But yeah, we are now on board with Sergei, car number 11. Not much time left on the clock. Will he be able to beat that 1:42.5 from Russell Reyes or 1:42.7 from Martono? We're going to find out very, very shortly. Sergei definitely wanting more points from this round 5 finale.
Yeah, he's definitely determined to get at least in front of Martono or Reyes, or rather at least on the front row. As you can see now, he's taking a wider line there to get a better exit, and let's see whether he rides the sausage curbs. He does, a little bit.
That's right, a little bit, and it's such a tricky thing to do because if you go an inch more, that would completely put you in a disadvantage. But here he comes onto turn 16, the final corner, onto the start of the front straight. crossing the start-finish line, and he clocks is that an improvement of time? I think the time improved.
43.8.
There was an improvement, just maybe not enough. So that puts Seguier into third, Ardianza in fourth, Nabil in fifth, Cruz in sixth. But fantastic.
Wow.
Look at the sector times for
Wow.
Russell Reyes. It was purple, purple, purple. Fastest sector lap sector 1, 2, 3, 142.5. How amazing is that, Fatris?
Yeah, unlike the race that you saw last week, the purples was actually spread out between the first 3 or 4, I believe. And yeah, and it's really amazing to see Reyes just bagging all the purple sectors in the track. So yeah, it's really a well-deserved drive from Reyes, and let's see how it goes for him in the race.
Now, if you guys, if JMX team are watching this live stream, please remember to save your replay video, because I think that video would be a good tutorial for future drivers as well, in how to clock a 142.5.
Wow.
In Assetto Corsa Competizione in a GTR GT3 at Barcelona. Now we are moments away from the start of the race. It will, like we've been mentioning earlier, it will be a 25-minute sprint race for these drivers. That extra 5 minutes will definitely add on to the fatigue the drivers will feel towards the end. Any corners do you think we should be watching out for in terms of overtaking opportunities here at Barcelona?
I think the chicane. Because the chicane can actually, catch out drivers.
Okay.
So like if you ride the chicane too much, your car will go into understeer, and then the car behind might just, do the switchback on you, and that's where your position will be lost. And another thing to mention as well is that turn 1, especially, it's a good heavy braking zone which you can overtake and capitalize on your driver in front.
Well, we're going to see all that happen very, very soon. We are going on to the starting grid of round 5 of the Legion of Races Asia Championship. This is the season finale. Thank you, first of all, to all the drivers and all of you who are watching at home for joining us for this entire season. It was amazing. But it sounds like I'm talking about at the end of the race. That is not true, because we're at the start of the race. 1 minute and 30 seconds to go. 15 drivers on grid. Russell Reyes, car number 311 in first position. Martono in second. Seguier in third. Ardianza in fourth. Nabil in fifth.
And then from the start of the M category, we have Cruz in 6th, we have Balagulan in 7th, Muhammad Ali in 8th, Irfan in 9th, Taufik Moin in 10th.
And in 11th position starting is Denaldi, followed by 12th position Armet, followed in 13th position Ronquillo, 14th position Peterson, and starting in 15th Freddie Teo. Now it seems like Ronquillo did manage to clock qualifying lap time that brought him up to 13. Very excited to watch this upcoming 25-minute race. Thank you all who are watching this live stream from TikTok and YouTube. Thank you all for joining us this evening for the season finale. If you watched race 4, you would understand why Fatris and myself are so excited about race 5. I think we're going to see some really amazing dogfights between some of these drivers. Drivers to watch out for, definitely those drivers in top 5. Reyes, Martono, Seguier, Ardianza, and Nabil, but also Cruz and Balagulan as well.
Yeah, as you can see, the crowd on the left there is ecstatic. They can't wait for a race to start. They're just cheering the drivers on.
That's
and
right.
Something interesting to point out is that I believe, is that Seguier? Yeah, Seguier in 3rd place has actually sort of got in the middle there of JMX front row lockout. So
that's
yeah,
right.
he's in 3rd place. So he's in a JMX sandwich there.
That's right. It will be an interesting position for him at the start of this race. It will be rolling start. The drivers are now moving off for this formation lap. Russell Reyes clearly very excited and ready to go, shooting ahead of everybody else at this point. 16 corners for these drivers at Barcelona per lap. And that sandwich you mentioned earlier, you can see the colors clearly displayed there right now, Fatris.
Yeah, of course. As you can see now, the drivers are starting to warm up their tires vigorously, turning their car left and right in an attempt to warm up their tires before the race starts after their formation lap.
That's right. So we can have a beautiful look at these corners, these connecting corners, just like you said earlier. Turn 1 being a relatively interesting overtaking potential spot. Slight downhill braking needs to be done consistently at the right place
Yep.
lap after lap, but due to tire degradation that we kept talking about, it will be affected lap after lap.
Yeah, so now they approach the Repsol corner, which I mentioned earlier, which is quite tricky to get right, but once you nail it, it's very, very, very satisfying. So yeah, it's a long right-hander with a really wide exit, so you can throttle early and yeah, make use of that to your advantage.
That's only if you have sufficient practice.
For sure, for sure.
Because without sufficient practice, drivers such as myself would probably not dare to carry that much speed out of turn 4 into that little straight bit before the hairpin at turn 5. Again, not an issue for any of these drivers, I believe. Practice seat time is something that they have all committed a lot of time and energy toward. And it will all come down to this. In fact, all that practice, all that training comes down to this moment. The next 27 minutes, I guess, or maybe the next 26 minutes will determine the championship winner for both the Pro category and the M category. Now, if my math is correct, and it's usually not, Russell Reyes, championship leader with the most points, and with the 18 points he gained from the previous race, he is in a pretty comfortable position right now, starting this race in pole position as well. Of course, he will want to finish as high up as possible, ideally in first.
Yep. As you can see now, they are approaching the last sector of the circuit, the Barcelona. And yeah, I think this is, again, a very, very long flat. No camber like the track before, so it's quite tricky to get the car right and position placed right on the track. And yeah, it'll be quite interesting to see whether or not the drivers use the curb, because like you mentioned earlier, Hong, the setup is also open, so you know, maybe some cars can take more curbs, some cars can't. So it'll be quite looking forward to see how the drivers get on with that. And now they're approaching the final chicane, which I mentioned was very, 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 very narrow, so you got to be really careful about the sausage curbs.
Right, so one little nudge off and it would greatly affect how their cars perform, and as well as their lap time during the race, and also if there are any other competitors nearby them. But it doesn't matter, because welcome to Spain. We are here in Barcelona for the round 5 of the Legion of Races Asia Championship season finale race. 25 minutes on the clock, green flags out, green lights are on, drivers on full throttle, battling down here to turn 1 at Barcelona.
Yeah, Reyes there, not taking the inside line, not defending from Matono behind him, who immediately tried to take his slipstream. But then now Sergio on the outside of Matono, trying to take the inside of the next corner rather. And yeah, Matono managed to stay in front of that battle.
That's right, denied again, but I have to keep repeating this. Such amazing stuff. All these drivers, so clinical starts, beautiful start, no contact, not that we noticed, no crashes for all rounds. Fantastic driving to all these drivers.
Excellent stuff, excellent stuff. And then now you can see 4th place Adensa just got a little bit wide there, which allowed Nabil to catch up to his teammate in front. So yeah, it'll be quite tough on Adensa, obviously, having Nabil just pushing him from the back and yeah, putting pressure on Nabil in 4th. On board now with Sergio, the only driver in the 5-way GMX sandwich there, and yeah, the driver from Gayatri Racing there, trying to keep up with Matono and Reyes up in front.
That's right. Putting up a pretty good fight, putting up a pretty good show at this point. It is 2-1-2 in terms of that sandwich you mentioned earlier, Fatris.
Yep.
And so big targets in front of him, but also big pressure coming from behind him as well. I'm also looking at our M category drivers. Cruz in 6th position, Balagulan in 7th. I noticed Irfan jumping up to 7th momentarily for a short bit, and now dropping back down to 8th position. Camera now on Denali from JMX Phantom in car number 92. Look at how tight this pack is. These drivers are really close to one another. Very nice and clean driving from all of them.
Yeah, definitely. As you can see now, the driver from, let me see who that is.
Denaldi, we're on board with Denaldi, I believe, who's on the tail of Aramed coming up, trying to take the inside lane. Will he do it? Braking at the 100-meter mark, going into turn 1, and carrying quite a fair bit of speed. Just not enough speed yet.
Yeah, and as you can see now, Aramed got a little bit late braking there, and now on board with Adiansa as he puts the pressure on Sergio in front of him in 3rd place. Adiansa now, would want to make his move early, or yeah, would want to wait it out. And now with Dinaldi now in front, Aramed, Sorry, rather behind Aramid.
Yes, yes. Donaldi currently still on the tail of Aramid. Okay, we're jumping back on board with Ardiansa. Let's see if he's going to make anything happen in these next few corners. A little bit of a gap between himself and Sergei in front of him. But the question is, how well will he be able to bring that speed in and out of these corners? We'll find out soon enough.
Yeah, it's quite interesting to see as well the GTR, how big it is on the track compared to other cars like the AMG and the like. Yeah, and
That
now
is true, that is true.
yeah, and now Dinaldi is now less than 1/10 behind Aramid. So let's see whether he gets the move done either this lap or next lap.
That's right, drivers slowing down quite a fair bit for these corners because they are pretty much 90 degrees and a lot of speed needs to be brought out from these, well, this corner.
Yeah. Oh, it's got a little bit wide there and got into a little drift there, Tokyo Drift, and yeah, he's lost that that advantage he had over Aramid, and now he has to work his way back up, and now behind more than 4/10 behind Aramid in fact.
And in fact, that was the corner that I was really focused on because you need to carry as much speed as possible out of 16 so that you can gain that more advantage on the front straight, especially for these cars with those big horsepower numbers. Very, very important. Camera still on Donaldi. Car number 92. I'm also looking at Martono, who's currently in the second position of this race, clocking fastest lap time so far. Less than 4/10 of a second behind Russell Reyes, teammate. I think that gap is probably closing in a little bit soon. Yeah, some exciting battles happening here between the two teammates up at the top of the list.
Yeah, and Russell there got a little bit wide on the entry of the corner, which allowed Martono to catch up. And
that's right.
Let's see whether he gets on the inside.
Right now, it seems like he was trying to go to the inside.
Yeah. It's dummy.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely, rather not probably. Brilliant driving from these two. It's such an amazing thing to watch as well because they put up such a show for everybody who's watching this, for us as well. Brilliant stuff.
Interesting to note as well that Reyes has turned on his rear fog lights.
That's right, it's blinking there. Might be a secret message to his fellow teammate on what to do, but I believe they are in live communication right now with one another, so it's definitely a lot of chit-chat going on between the drivers as well.
Yeah, and that's a huge advantage to having a physical, how do I put this? Physical communication, in fact, to your teammates. So that's one of the key advantages that you get, I guess.
That's right. Now looking at the lap times, Sergei is 9/10 of a second, almost 1 full second behind. We are now on board with Martono, braking into turn 1. Like you mentioned, a lot of that trail braking needed to be happening, and these two drivers doing it, executing it flawlessly. Almost like carbon copy of one another. But it does seem like Martono is slightly more on the inside as well. There you see that advantage maybe of Martono's lines versus Russell Reyes' teammate who is currently leading the race. Coming very, very close to one another. 1/10 of a second separate these two drivers. And
he had to dodge Reyes there because he broke a little bit too late and Reyes broke a little bit too early, which meant that if he didn't avoid that, they would have definitely got into a crash. But yeah, great defensive driving there from Martono.
That's right, very, very true. Quick responses as well, and a little bit of advantage for Reyes, even though that was a big risk. But that advantage is now gone because the two drivers are much closer again. But all that happening, Sergei, who was in third, taking advantage now, coming onto the outside of Martono. Not enough, going to the inside. Is that a switch? Will there be a switch? Will he be able to take advantage of that battle? Maybe not yet.
Not yet, but yeah, it's really, really interesting. Like I mentioned earlier, the strategy of the top two runners, the strategies that they have to go with, rather. They have to plan out whether or not to make the move now, or whether or not to just keep pressuring the driver in front in a bid to hopefully spread the gap even further, so that they don't have any pressure from the back.
Absolutely. Now, I don't want to make any negative judgment calls. It does seem like Martono slowed down a little bit there. Maybe because they were riding the sausage at the chicane, which may have unsettled the car a little bit. Maybe also to create that sandwich effect, not affecting Sergei at all whatsoever. Maximum pressure still being applied. You can see Ardianza also slowly reeling in Segia and coming a little bit closer to third position as well. It should potentially be a battle for first, second, third, and fourth all the way from now to the end. We have 17.5 minutes to go.
Yeah, something that's really interesting to note is that Matono is actually catching up a lot on braking, where Reyes is pulling away on the exits. So it's really like David versus Goliath, I guess.
You're right, Fatris. Again, I do wish we had sector timings. Would be so interesting to watch. That's a close-up view of the grass. Look at how realistic the grass blows in the wind as these drivers zoom by here at Barcelona. Beautiful weather out, sunny and hot. Will also affect the tires, in fact, not just tire degradation from usage, but also track temperatures as well. We can see 23 degrees Celsius ambient temperature, 30 degrees Celsius track temperature. No one cares about that right now because these two drivers are going bumper to bumper into that corner. Beautiful driving from both drivers. You can see the rotation of Russell Reyes' car rotating so ever gently in and out of those corners with Matono full throttle behind. Maximum pressure once again from these two drivers. Also Ardianza turning up the heat behind Segia as well. Battle for third. And here we have Matono trying to make his move, coming onto the front straight, going side by side. The two drivers are indeed wing mirror to wing mirror. Beautiful overtake. Thank you, Slipstream. Matono now leading the race, taking that spot away from Russell Reyes. What a beautiful overtake.
In fact, I think Reyes slowed down a little bit there on the straight to let Matono by. I think he didn't want to put his car in any sort of risks, because he knows that in fact if he gets I believe top 3, he would have be crowned the champion of the 2022 online league. But yeah, it's quite interesting to see their strategies as they play along now. 15 minutes left to go, and as well, quite interesting to note as well that on 6th place we have Cruz there, who's just 3 seconds behind Nabil in Pro. So that really is an indicament to how fast the M drivers even are.
Absolutely. Cameron now on Alan Drake Cruz in car number 333 with Bala Gulan behind him. Almost like an instant replay of round 4. Of course, different circuit as well, different emotions for the drivers. But will cruise to a finish ahead of Bala Gulan. 15 minutes to go. We'll find out very, very soon. Fatris, back to what we were talking about earlier about Matono Reyes' strategy, team strategy coming into play maybe. Yes, I do agree with you that Russell Reyes may have slowed down a little bit to let Matono pass, just to make sure that no incidents happen. But at the same time, wouldn't that also put Russell Reyes in the difficult spot, because biggest competitor right now, Segia, will be turning up their pressure, cranking up the pressure rather, turning up the heat with 4/10 of a second behind. And you can see now on board with Segia, with Russell Reyes dead in his sights directly as they come down towards the front straight for turn 1. Moving out, using that full width of the circuit, coming in, as you said earlier, trail braking a little bit into turn 1, connecting to turn 2 and 3 before they hit to Repsol corner, turn 4. But yeah, interesting strategy, like you said, Fatris. It will be interesting to see how they pan out. Maybe also a bit of a tire conservation strategy as well. I don't know. I have no clue.
Or perhaps it's just letting Matono get a little bit more points so that he gets a chance to be in the top 3 or top 5. Or well, really, really interesting strategies going on here in the final round of 2022 LOR Online League, presented to you by Tarmac Works.
That's right. Now, these top 5 drivers started in this position, and it's only Matono and Reyes who have swapped positions throughout this race so far. Segia still in 3rd position, Ardianza in 4th, Nabil in 5th. Seems like the technical issues for Nabil's car has been sorted out, and I think there was some flying debris.
Yeah, there was a braking marker, I believe.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, take out the braking marker, and
that'll be an interesting strategy.
That will be, but again, these drivers, I believe they have muscle memory down
for sure.
To a T, that they could basically visualize where they need to brake without even having their eyes open. But keeping their eyes open will be important. Right now you can see that train slowly coming in and out of those corners, hitting those sausages, some of the drivers aggressively taking those chicanes. In real life, that would be very painful for their shock absorber system. I'm not sure how that affects here in ACC. All right, camera back onto Segia, car number 11. Passion running through their veins, adrenaline running through their veins. These drivers still maintaining that aggressive driving posture, if you may. Nabil seems to have slowed down a little, quite a fair bit, dropping 2.8 seconds behind. Interesting, because kind of just said his car technical issues may have been solved, but no idea why the car has dropped back down so much further behind. Not happening for these 4 drivers. We are now on board with Segia. Tail view, see the huge, massive GT wing of the massive GTR GT3 with Ardiansa 0.3 of a second behind Segia. Interesting moments.
Definitely interesting, and it's also interesting to point out that now we are on board with Cruz, who has Balagulan behind him again, similarly to the last race, less than a second.
I have to quickly say we did see those debris on the circuit. Interesting, no yellow flag, no safety marshals coming out to clear the circuit to prevent any accidents or incidents. I guess in sim racing that's one benefit. You don't need to slow down or stop for any of this, you know, incidents. Exactly, or accidents even happening. So that's a good thing, because you could maintain your emotions, you can maintain that focus, and focus is what these 2 drivers have right now at the maximum level. Alan Drake Cruz in car number 333, the blue GTR GT3 coming up to the first corner with Balagulan 0.6 of a second behind, closing that in that turn. Beautiful stuff, going off a little bit wide at the end, so unfortunately not connecting as brilliantly as could have been. But we're only at the halfway point of the race, 10.5 minutes to go out of this 25-minute race. I wonder how the drivers are feeling right now in terms of fatigue.
Yeah, definitely. And something as well to point out about Barcelona is that well, I mean, it's a track, obviously I think every track has their unique points, but Barcelona, you really need to have that sort of patience to correctly line up your corners. So like for example, turn 1 and turn 2, you need to get the lines for turn 1 correctly so that your car is perfectly positioned to go onto turn 2. Now if you miss the apex on turn 1, that also means that you miss your apex on turn 2.
Which means it will affect your entire turn 3
for sure, all
the way up, maybe even to turn 4. Yeah, well, okay, camera back onto Segia in 3rd position. Ardiansa now 1/10 of a second behind. Really, once again, cranking up that heat. This is microwave oven maxed out, maximum temperature, maximum Celsius, maximum everything. Drivers are going to be giving their all very, very soon. You can see them really going wide there out onto the sausage, and really affecting their stability as well, I guess. For both drivers.
Yeah, definitely. And now you can see Ardiansa now caught up to Segia by, I think, by a 10th or so. And yeah, he's really starting to put the pressure on Segia, but Segia is just unfazed, and he's just a man on his mission, chasing down Reyes in 2nd place.
That's right, and I'm taking special notice of the lines, just as you mentioned, Patrice, and how they need to connect 1 and 2 in order to carry the speed into turn 3. And yeah, it still seems like these drivers are driving very similar styles. Right there, I think Segia was not going, not maximizing the width as much as Ardiansa was, which may come into play momentarily. We'll see as Ardiansa now continues to apply that pressure on Segia.
Interesting stuff, interesting stuff. And he missed the apex there a little bit, which allowed Ardiansa to catch up, and less than a 10th or so, I believe. Just catching up slowly, bit by bit, but you know, never say never.
No, I mean 16 corners here at Barcelona. If you're able to gain 1/10 of a second advantage in every single corner, that will be massive advantage on the entire lap. Coming really, really close now, Ardiansa really coming into the pressure. You can actually see the Tarmac Works logo on the hood of Ardiansa's car every time they come into the corner, because that big GT wing is no longer blocking it. That is an example of how close these 2 drivers are driving in real life. It will indeed be bumper to bumper racing.
Yeah, up to turn 1 now, and yeah, let's see who manages to come out of turn 1 and 2 perfectly.
For those of you who are watching at home, you guys have no idea, but both Fadris and I are actually at the edge of our seat. Beautiful defensive line there from Sergia going on to the inside, denying any additional gap for Ardiansa. Ardiansa deciding very quickly to go back out in order to get the right or the better racing line that allowed him to bring it more speed into turn 2 and turn 3, and the advantage is going to be seen very, very soon, very, very clearly right here as the drivers turn into Repsol turn 4.
Yeah, great dummy there by Ardiansa, which which forced Sergei rather to take an unconventional line to through turn 4, I believe, Repsol corner, which made just that little bit of gap disappear, which allowed Ardiansa to obviously catch up to Sergei in front of him.
That's right, the on-the-fly strategy that these drivers need to be able to quickly think and calculate and decide while not life-changing per se, because this is sim racing. Life-changing per se also if you are in championship points contention, and or at least rather denying your competitor championship points. Here we have Ardiansa coming really, really close now again, trying to put that pressure onto Sergei to make a mistake. Also at the same time hunting for a small little gap, and that is all he needs, a small little gap to squeeze through into third place. This is battle for third, and it's starting to heat up here at Barcelona. Last 6 minutes to go. So yeah, like you said earlier, Fadris, not phased at all. Well, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit.
For sure.
I could imagine that the pressure would be visible on the perspiration that is trickling down his forehead right now in the final moments of this race. Well, 5.5 minutes to go, but the pressure is still coming on hot, hard and fast from Ardiansa. 0.4 of a second between these two drivers, and that 0.4 of a second will slowly melt away. Once again, interesting to note is that Dafa Nabil has dropped a little bit further behind with a 3.4 second gap, I believe. Little bit of a slowdown there as well. Cruz still leading the M category in 6th position, with Balagulan in 7th, followed by Muhammad Ali in 8th.
Something interesting to note as well is that even though Matono didn't get pole in his qualifying, he's still managing to pull away a little bit from Reyes, which is an indication that no matter how fast you are in quali, it doesn't necessarily have to result in similar pace for your race.
That's right. Race pace, very different thing from qualifying. Qualifying more like a time attack format for the drivers and the cars as well. And also how the cars are set up, right?
Yes,
I mean,
for sure.
some of the drivers may set up their cars in order to get some advantage on the earlier part of the race when the tires are still very, very grippy.
Yes.
And then lose that advantage as the race progresses on. Some drivers may be a little bit more balanced in how they set up the car and also in how they drive.
But yeah, as you can see now, Matono is not taking the sausage curbs at all through the final chicane there, which is probably better for the car and better for him as well, spreading the gap from Reyes to about 1.3 seconds now.
That's right. So seems like the gap between Sergei and Ardiansa has also spread out a little bit of breathing space for Sergei in terms of pressure coming from behind. But with only 4 minutes to go, it also means that he would need to turn up the pressure on Russell Reyes, who's in front of him. 0.6 of a second gap between these two drivers if he wants to fight for the second position.
Yeah, definitely. As you can see now, they are just making use of every single inch of space on entry as they can. Even using the little green areas, the runoff areas on entry. So, yeah, really hats off to the drivers for just pushing on and pushing to get the best possible result. On board now with Russell Reyes, as you can see now, Sergei has caught up to less than half a second. And Sergei now is attempting to put the pressure on Reyes in a bid to overtake him to get to second place.
Well, based on qualifying lap times, it seems like Russell Reyes and Martono both have a little bit of an advantage. Whether or not Sergei is going to be able to make anything happen, I believe it needs to happen this lap, if not the next lap. There's only 3 minutes left on the clock. Maybe final 2 laps, maybe final 3 laps, we don't know yet. But yeah, if anything were to happen, I believe Sergei needs to do it very, very soon, very, very quickly.
Yeah.
The question is there enough grip and traction left in those tires? Is there enough fuel left? Not in the tank of the car, but in the driver. Let's find out. Final 2.5 minutes to go. Here's round 5 at Barcelona.
Yeah, Reyes there took a little bit too much of the sausage curb, which allowed Sergei to catch up just a little bit more. And yeah, hopefully, you know, he's able to capitalize on Reyes' mistake. And yeah, let's see who comes out on top of this. And now entering turn 1 and turn 2, like I mentioned earlier, it's really, really important to get turn 1 and turn 2 right for a really, really nice entry to turn 3, and as well affecting turn your speed up to turn 4. So as you can see now, Sergei and Reyes rather, sorry, not Adiansa, taking almost similar lines, which is, yeah, it's really, really incredible how these drivers are able to maintain the line throughout the race.
That's right, especially with fatigue on the human body and tire degradation in the sim race as well. That gap has really closed in. Sergei now 0.2 of a second behind Russell Reyes. I think the pressure is on for Russell Reyes. Dropping down to 3rd may not affect his championship points. I'm not too sure. We need to punch the calculator for that. But it will affect pride. It will affect glory.
Yeah.
Sergei started in between JMX Phantom. 2 drivers in front, 2 drivers behind. He will not want to finish in that position. He wants to be a little further up front ahead.
Yeah, definitely. As you can see now, he's just pushing and pushing, and now Matono is already more than 1.7 seconds pulling away from Reyes ever so slightly, entering the last lap of this 25-minute race. So we have about 50 seconds to go, which means that this will officially be the last lap of the 2022 Legion Racers 2022 Online League, presented to you guys by Tarmac Works.
That's right. I am looking at the timing between Cruz and Balagulan, and it seems like it is 100th of a second gap between these 2 drivers. I'm not sure which sector that was and which sector those drivers were at. You're right to say that this will be potentially the final lap for this race, for this season. But yeah, that time difference between Cruz and Balagulan, oh, okay, it has increased a little bit again. It's 0.2 of a second now. I think Balagulan must have came really, really close to Cruz on that previous
sector,
lap in the previous sector. Amazing, amazing stuff. But camera back onto Sergei right now in 3rd position. 0.2 of a second behind Russell Reyes. Final lap here at Barcelona. The drivers need to give it all they have left in their tank. Whatever grip and traction those tires can provide, they need to use it. They need to balance it. Slight contact there, I think. Oh, contact again! Coming in out of the corner, Russell Reyes holding on to that position. Not affected. I think Sergei backed off a little bit as well, understanding that that was not intentional, but yet an incident that nobody wanted. It seems like it's gentleman driving there.
Yep, great sportsmanship.
Absolutely, absolutely great stuff from
and
Sergei.
great car control there by Reyes as well, managing to catch the slide there, going into a half drift there.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, a little bit more understeer, and it could potentially have been game over for Russell Reyes as well. I think Sergei understood that very, very quickly, released throttle a little bit to make sure that nothing happens. And wow, it would have been an interesting finish. Not sure if it was a good one or bad one. Thankfully, no major incident. Here we are. Camera on Presley Martono coming up to the start-finish line for the final time for this race, for the final time for this season of the 2022 Asia Championship by the Legion of Racers, presented by Tarmac Works. Congratulations to Presley Martono, car number 32, finishing in 1st position. Finishing in 2nd, Russell Reyes. In 3rd, Sergei. 4th place finish goes to Ardiansa. 5th place finish goes to Nabil. 6th place finish goes to
Balagulan.
Wow. 7th to Cruz. I wonder what happened there. We need to watch the replay later. Must have been
an overtake by Balagulan.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow. Great stuff.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, that is the provisional results of this race. My heart is beating so quickly
For
right
sure.
now. I feel so excited, and I feel so happy and privileged to have had the honor to watch that fantastic race. Congratulations to Martono for winning round 5. Wow. a little bit out of breath.
Yeah, me
Fudges,
too.
your comments.
Wow, I think that was really, really interesting of of Reyes letting Martino passing by to him. Yeah, and I think it was great driving indeed by all of them. And yeah, I think it's just incredible driving. Just next level driving by Matono, especially pulling away 1.7 seconds in front of his teammate Reyes, who actually clocked a faster time in qualifying, and as well great driving there by the blue car, the sandwich.
Sergey.
Sergey, yeah,
Yeah.
great driving by Sergey.
Fantastic
great,
drive.
great sportsmanship by him to back off a little bit to let Reyes recover and yeah, just to drive, and yeah.
Oh, it's next level driving from some of the drivers. It was next level racing from all the drivers. Fantastic stuff, brilliant stuff. But again, the results were provisional, barring any potential protests from any drivers. Doesn't seem like that would happen, but we never know. So remember to follow the Legion of Racers on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, because that is where all the results will be announced.
Yep.
I'll also remember to subscribe to the Legion of Racers on YouTube, because that's where you get a lot of content, and you're also going to get a lot of driving tips from the professional Legion of Racers esports drivers such as Fudres. Now, Fudres, aside from gaining content and gaining some driving tips from the YouTube channel, what other way, I wonder, could potential Singaporean or visitors to Singapore who want to learn more about sim racing and sim training, where can they go?
Well, you guys can always feel free to head down to Racebox, which is a place where you guys can come with your friends, chill out, and even you can seek tips from us, from drivers alike. We will cater to your level. So like if you're a beginner, we will teach you the fundamentals to sim racing, and then if you are an advanced, we will be going on to the more detailed stuff like Motec in ACC and so on and so forth. So yeah, definitely look forward to see you guys here.
Well, I mean, if a professional sim driver could sit next to you and coach you in terms of how you may improve your driving for sim racing, I could tell you from personal experience that it will also help you in real life racing as well. Even if you're not racing in a real life race, you could also maybe potentially be interested in improving yourself for track days. And I can tell you from personal experience, having been here multiple times, it works.
It works.
It absolutely does. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. It is the end of our season. For those of you who are watching at home, thank you for spending your time with us. To all the drivers who competed in this year's season, thank you for joining us as well. To our partners and sponsors, massive thank you to help us make this show and this entire league this season a possibility. And finally, massive thank you to the behind the scenes crew here at the Legion of Racers. It has been a blast. On behalf of Fudres and myself, thank you all for joining us.
Thank you.
Take care of yourselves, and we will see you in 2023.
See ya.